Hey guys, welcome back to my channel, and it's Debsy, and the place to be, it's Debsy. Bloop, bloop, that's me. Boop, Debsy. Hey guys, happy Thursday. It is almost Friday. I hope everybody is having a wonderful week and had a great day. I did it. I watched all of Salt Lake City multiple times, made my notes. So we're gonna cover it. This was messy. This was like taking a step back in time to the season of Beverly Hills, or Housewives of Beverly Hills. Remember when supposedly Kathy Hilton went crazy in the Sprinter van in Aspen? Remember? Well, that's what this week kind of reminded me of. So listen, grab your favorite drink. I got myself a rosé. Woo, fancy. But wait a minute, girls and guys. It's Welch's. It's a non-alcoholic sparkling rosé. So I have a rosé. Cheers, chin chin. Let's get into this week. This week's episode of Real Housewives, Salt Lake City, Season 6, Episode 9. Okay, so it's the third day on the boat. They wake up, and some of the ladies do morning yoga with Captain Jason. Yes, please. Do I do yoga? No, I haven't been able to bend that way since I was probably 6. But hey, for Captain Jason, sure, breakfast yoga and breakfast yogurt. I'm in for all of it. So while the ladies are doing that, Meredith and Lisa are talking. And of course, Meredith is ripping on Brittany, but she also is upset with Whitney because Whitney didn't shut it down. Like, she didn't shut down Brittany whenever she showed Whitney the TikTok. And also, listen, but up on deck during yoga, Brittany was saying that when she shared that information about Seth's alleged mistress and the TikTok, like, she was doing that. I was just doing that to be nice. I was bringing that up to be nice. It wasn't, I was doing it to be helpful. Do I buy that? I don't buy that. I feel like she was saying it to get back at Meredith, to be mean. And I don't know who would believe her when she says, yeah, I was doing that to be nice. I was meaning to be a friend. I don't buy that. Okay, so then a little bit later, Bronwyn shows up at Meredith's room. She kidnapped Uni, the unicorn. You know, the creepy one with Jared Joel's voice. Ugh. So she goes to Meredith's room. They're talking about Brittany a little bit. And then they decide that they're going to, in fact, throw the unicorn overboard. So the only fun part of this was these inflatables. Like, I thought it was, if you just saw the inflatables walking on the deck and almost getting blown away, and the black and white footage was funny. Listen, I'm going to tell you this much. I'm not a big fan of Brittany. I'm certainly not a big fan of Jared Joel Osmond. And I think she needs to pick her daughter over him. All that being said, and I thought it was ridiculous that she brought a stuffed animal with his voice. Like, I'm thinking now that she just brought it to for more airtime, for something that would be, that would give her more airtime and give her a storyline. All that being said, I thought it was mean. I thought it was mean for them to do this, just because I thought to myself, would I want somebody taking my belongings and throwing it overboard? I wouldn't. And later on, when they find it, when Daisy finds it and gives it back to her, and then Bronwyn's like, I threw it over to be as a joke. I don't see how, and Whitney was like, why would you think that would be a joke? I wouldn't. Listen, I love Bronwyn, but I don't like that she did that. Because I wouldn't want any of my belongings, somebody to take my belongings and throw it overboard. I just wouldn't want that. And I don't think she would want it either. And I don't know, this week on the boat, like, I love Bronwyn, but Bronwyn was being like, she was playing both sides, and she was kind of being a little mean. When you take somebody's belongings and then you throw it overboard, I think that's mean. And she was talking smack on Brittany, but then later on, when they're all sitting down for breakfast, and there's conveniently the only spot that's open at the table is right next to Meredith, and that's where Brittany has to sit. So while Meredith and Whitney are going back and forth, Brittany's trying to Bronwyn's trying to calm Brittany down and like pick a side. Like, which side are you going to be on? I love Bronwyn, but this, I didn't like that. I didn't like that at all. And when they were at the table, Meredith basically said to Whitney, listen, I have a problem with you because you co-signed this. I thought you were my friend. You weren't being a friend. You could have shut this down when she showed you that TikTok. And Whitney was like, listen, I gave Brittany three options. Either you don't say anything about this because it's not true, or you tell her, or I tell her. And Whitney was like, listen, the TikTok really was nothing. I didn't think it was a big deal. However, and I didn't believe it. However, this reaction makes it seem like maybe there's something to it. And that's what I keep thinking. Like, she is this upset by it. Maybe there's something to this. And I'll tell you, in the past, I always thought it was odd that he lives in Salt Lake City, but he travels and commutes. He travels and commutes by plane across the country to Columbus. And she had said that this was a problem in their marriage. This had caused problems in her marriage before, but he still decided to take another job doing it. So do I kind of believe that this is true? I kind of do believe it's true. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if it wasn't. Allegedly, this is what has happened, was going on. Allegedly. Okay. So everybody was they weren't rallying around Brittany, but they were kind of taking up for her a little bit. Like, I think, Angie had said something to kind of stand up for Brittany, and Meredith was all of a sudden was like, well, that's it. If you guys want to be okay with Brittany, then you can't be okay with me. Then I can't be your friends. I'm done with you. Which Heather in confessionals was like, are you kidding me? You've got to be kidding me. So, but you're still okay with Lisa, the woman who was digging up shit on your family. You're okay with that, but it doesn't make sense. So the crew, listen, it was, what's it called? Disembarking, or it was the last day. Everybody was leaving the ship. Listen, that crew was so damn happy to get rid of them. I'm going to tell you, I want to watch the Below Deck episode, because I want to see how much they tipped them. They better have given them a huge tip. Okay. So this is where we get into the good stuff. The plane ride home. So Bronwyn took a separate flight home from everybody. Plane ride home. Apparently, before they even got on the plane, Meredith was like out of control. Before they even boarded, she was picking on Brittany, and she was out of control. So they're saying that Meredith was behind Brittany. When they showed the seating arrangements, though, it looked like Meredith was here, Lisa was here, and then Brittany was right in front of Lisa. Heather was here across the aisle. Whitney was in front of her, and then Mary was here. And then in front of them was Angie. So everybody was saying she started screaming at Brittany. She pulled her hair. She spilled wine on her. She was shaking her chair, and Whitney texts that Meredith is taunting Brittany. Meanwhile, Meredith is saying, I didn't do any of that. I didn't yell. I wasn't yelling at her. I certainly wasn't pulling hair. I wasn't throwing wine. I was just relaying what I was thinking to my friend, which would be Lisa. And if she happened to hear, then she just happened to hear. She's like, Brittany had headphones on. I was just talking for a couple minutes to my friend and venting, and if she heard, then she heard. But I slept, or I watched a couple movies and I slept. Meredith was like, listen, if this happened, I would have gotten, not Air Marshal John would have arrested me and would have thrown me off the flight. Now, here's the thing. The first thing that I thought was, wait a minute, where is the video? And that's what everybody's saying. Well, where is the video? Because Heather Gay was on Watch What Happens Live afterwards. And she said that they took up like 9/10 of the first class. Like it was all Housewives, and it was production. And she said that the air marshal was not called because they knew that we were loud getting on, so they didn't do anything. It's not really air marshal territory. Plus, she was like, we're celebrities up there, so it's kind of like hands off celebrities. So that's why she said nobody was called. If this was ever time for Brittany to pull out her phone and start recording, it would have been now. Like at first I thought, I don't know that I believe this, because where is the video? Maybe technically they're not allowed to grab their cameras and film, but why didn't someone, instead of texting, why didn't someone video it? Okay, now here is when I was like, oh, no, I believe this. When Mary Cosby said that this happened, and she actually, because 2 days after all this went down, she met with Bronwyn, and she was telling her everything that happened, how she was terrorizing Brittany, was yelling at her, was making her cry, pulled her hair, was shaking her seat. And number one, Mary's not gonna lie. And number two, Mary is the one person that really, out of all of them, Mary's the person that really does not like Brittany at all. Like, she's the one who likes her the least. So if Mary is gonna say, I felt terrible for what she was going through, that means something happened. Something had to have happened. Whitney was talking to her husband, Justin. She's like, Meredith lost her mind. She was yelling and screaming. Show me the TikTok. I'm going to see the TikTok saying it doesn't exist. Calling the both of them liars. And she said Lisa was getting in on it too. Lisa was talking to John. I took no notes on Lisa and John because I'm getting tired of Lisa. But Lisa was talking to John, and he didn't seem all that interested, but she was like, Meredith went crazy, but she didn't seem to be, she didn't seem to be as upset. That kind of got me, that she didn't seem to be as upset about it. So Brittany meets up with Heather, and she made a point. She's like, anytime Lisa and Meredith get together and they're sitting next to each other, it's kind of like a bullying vortex. Like they get each other fired up, you know? And then it comes out again that Lisa was in on it. She was in on it too, yelling, show her the effing TikTok, and yelling at her and kind of egging her on. Meredith was like pulling Brittany's hair and spilling wine on her. But to me, it's really no surprise that Lisa would egg her on to do that, because I feel like that's who she is. I feel like she's just a mean girl. I don't care what anybody says. I just feel like she's petty and she's a mean girl. And that really, Lisa egging her on really, it seems like, hurt Brittany the most, because remember back in episode 1, she really rode hard for Lisa and stood up for her in episode 1 when no one really was, even when Meredith wasn't. Because Meredith maybe said a couple words, and then after that didn't say much else. But also another question that I had is going back to why didn't someone like step in immediately? Heather said that when she woke up and she saw it going on, she did. But no one before that really stepped in. And she was like, we find out later that, like, in order to get Brittany off the plane at the end, like four grown women had to huddle around her, get her together, I don't know if she had to change her clothes. And because Angie was like, she turned around, she looked at her, and Brittany was just crying in a puddle, like just destroyed. So Heather is like, listen, this is not cool. We can't do this. I can't be friends with somebody who does that. Okay. So here's the thing that I'm going to say. No. I'll get into this later. Okay. So then Bronwyn and Whitney meet up. Okay. So they're talking, and she's saying that she explains everything that went on. And Mary's even saying that, like, or Bronwyn had said that Mary had said that Meredith is going around and really campaigning to try to get people on her side, to believe what happened. She's, Bronwyn once again was like, or Whitney was like, Meredith was terrorizing Brittany. And Whitney said something interesting. She had said, I was wondering if it was fueled by alcohol or sleeping pills. I'm going to bring something up. And I didn't know this because I don't take Ambien. I watched this TikTok, and this woman had said she believes, now this is alleged. She's like, I believe that this is what happened because this is what happens when you do this. But there's something called an Ambien coma. If you take Ambien and then immediately afterwards, you have a couple alcoholic drinks, you're in like what's known as, I guess, an Ambien coma. And you're functioning, but you just don't remember what you do. Because she was like, I used to do this. She was like, I would take an Ambien and then drink a couple glasses of wine right afterwards. And she's like, there were times when me and my friend did that, and we went out to like a restaurant, we had dinner, and we came home. We didn't even remember that we did that. She's like, one night I did that. I went online and I became an ordained minister. I don't even remember doing that. So she's like, that could very well be what happened. Like, she popped some Ambiens, she had a couple glasses of wine immediately afterwards, and boom. And you don't even remember what you did. So now maybe she realizes, oh shit, this is maybe what happened, and I gotta do damage control now and be like, that never happened. I'm just saying, that's a when I heard about that, I mean, that could be a possibility. Because think about later in the final scene, what Mary says. Now, Bronwyn was like, I don't know if I don't know that there's any way. I don't think there is a way that this happened the way that Whitney's saying it happened. Other on a commercial flight, and there's no cell phone footage, and she wasn't zip tied and then taken off the plane and put on a no-fly list. Okay, but listen, then we get into another part of this episode. The thing that everybody's talking about is the flight, and did Meredith go bonkers? Okay, but here's the other part. So apparently Todd was on a flight to New York, and someone who was sitting behind him saw him looking at sexy pictures of someone from a text that was not his wife. So she believes that this did happen. So he gets home, she blew up on him and was like, I guess he had a trip, flight the next day. She's like, nope, you are going to a hotel tonight. We need some time apart. Now listen, this is where you're like, what? Wait a minute, huh? Because she says, now if I knew about it beforehand, I would be okay with it. If Todd wanted to sleep with other people and I knew about it, or if he wanted to do a threesome and invite somebody else into the marriage, into the bed, then she'd be open to it. Listen, Todd, who was making out with somebody and farting, who wants to get in on that? Like, who would want, who? But listen, that lean in that Whitney did, because she was like, hey, if he wants a threesome, I'm in on it. She's like, what? Wait a minute, huh? What? Did you say? What? Because the alternative lifestyle, no kink shaming, but Justin and Whitney, they might do some alternative lifestyles there, open-wise. So in my mind, I was like, wait a minute. So do you want an open marriage to save the marriage? So I led to believe that this is an open marriage, but they don't have agreements in it. I'm going to tell you this much. Todd Bradley is the very last person that I would think of as living like a alternative lifestyle as far as his marriage goes. Why am I holding it like this? It's the oddest. Like, he just seems too curmudgeonly. You know what I mean? Like, maybe if he was like an older man who's sexy and real. How old is Daniel Craig? Like Daniel Craig, like sexy, or like Sean Connery, like when he was, is he still alive? No, he's not. Put in the comments if he is passed or not. But like, you know what I mean? Like when he was older, he was like real good looking, like, not Todd Bradley, who makes out with people and farts. I don't know. So, yeah. I mean, it was a conversation that you like to see, because it's two women sitting down and discussing, issues in their marriage. They're both married to men who are older than them. So it was nice to see women talking about everyday things. But I have to tell you, I did recently see a story that allegedly Todd and Bronwyn are divorcing. I'm going to tell you this. I will die on this hill. He hates being on the show. And she knows that. I honestly think she went on the show so that she can set herself up. Set herself up with the fame, set herself up with what comes with the fame is the fortune, is the money. Now, I believe that she did say that they don't have a prenup. So maybe she came on the show, with her future in mind, meaning a future not with him. I'm just saying, that's what I think. I've heard a lot of people say that, and it makes sense. It makes a lot of sense. She wouldn't be the first housewife to do it. Okay. So, then we had Angie was talking with Electra. Electra, the 13, she is definitely a teenager now. Because she has the whole ew, mom, come on. She was basically talking, she's going to be going away on a ride, on a trip for her equestrian, for her riding. And she was, Angie was saying to her, hey, listen, if you get good enough, maybe someday, if you keep excelling in your equestrian and your horseback riding, maybe one day you can compete in the Olympics and you can represent Greece. Which Electra, she didn't like the idea. She thought it was a bad idea. I kind of am with Electra, well, if you live in the United States, then why wouldn't you just ride for the United States? And she does horseback riding because, well, obviously she loves it, but I guess Sean's family has a lot of experience in equestrian, they were trainers or they were riders. And Electra kind of feels like she's being, the Greek culture is being forced on her. She's like, you make me go to Greek school, and you wear the only things that you wear are Greek items, the Greek flag. And this kind of hurt Angie, because she is she's so connected to Greece and the Greek culture. She's going to be applying for dual citizenship, and her father came from Greece and is just a hardworking man. And so it hurt her that she's not as into the Greek culture. And it also hurts Angie because Angie said she doesn't really understand a lot about horses and she doesn't have that background. So she's hoping that in the future, the Greek, hopefully Electra will embrace her Greek heritage a little bit more. Okay. So, Heather meets up with Lisa. Listen, I'm going to tell you what, an hour late, I wouldn't have stayed there. She shows up an hour late and it was no big deal. Which shows she doesn't give a shit about what Heather has to say. When somebody is an hour late, I would have left. I wouldn't even be there. All Lisa had to say about what happened was, it was a lot. It was a lot. I tried to soothe Meredith, and she says that all she did was she reached around to around Brittany's seat and said, could you just show her the fucking TikToks? As if to be like, show her the TikToks so she can shut up. This whole scene was Lisa saying, I didn't do anything. Heather being like, well, here is what Brittany is saying. And Lisa saying, I didn't do anything. I don't care what Brittany said. I've been a good friend, but I didn't do anything. And as soon as Heather was like, Brittany doesn't want to be around you, Lisa got very animated, very upset, very defensive. And she's saying that all she said once again was show her the effing TikTok very nicely to Brittany. I wasn't egging Meredith on. And Heather was like, I was there. She's like, you were sleeping. She's like, when I woke up, I saw what was going on. And if all this didn't happen, then why did it take 4 women to get Brittany off a plane? And when she was saying it took 4 people to get her off the plane, or Lisa then comes back with, well, I was preserving my peace. This right here, that shows that she's a shitty friend. Because during this scene, she's like, Brittany's been a good friend to me. I've been a great friend to Brittany. That sounds like you were being a great friend to Brittany. And Lisa was saying, I feel terrible about what happened to Brittany, but she has to take accountability for what she said. Now listen, I will say, I said it before, when Brittany said, I was saying this to be nice, I was saying this to help you out about, the TikTok. I don't buy that. Who says that to be nice? But if all of this happened, I mean, even if she said that, it doesn't mean that you should do this. You could have handled it in a better way. So no, and it just went back. It just went back and forth. And with Lisa just trying to gaslight Heather and everybody into thinking that she didn't have anything to do with it, I 100% think that she was egging her on. She's a terrible friend. Okay, so lastly, Meredith and Mary meets up, and Meredith seems unfazed by the whole thing. She's like, oh, I'm good. Okay, you're good. Meredith, though, when she said, what is it that you think happened? With like that look. Mary was like, I don't need to think what happened. I know what happened because I was there. She's like, no. She starts gaslighting her. She's like, no, you didn't. When I got up and I walked past her, Mary had headphones on. And so basically, like, you really didn't see anything. Meredith claims that she was just venting to a friend. And Brittany didn't hear any of it because she had headphones on. If she didn't hear any of it, then why was she crying? Meredith keeps changing her story. She's like, it went on for a minute. Or it went on for 15 minutes. And then she was saying, I watched 2 movies and I slept. Once again, she's trying to gaslight Mary and she's trying to gaslight us. Meredith, and then off camera, Meredith is like, I think Brittany got in Mary's ear as telling her what to think. That is crazy because Mary does not like Brittany. So you're thinking that they're spending time together or they're talking on the phone? No. This scene, Meredith was trying to activate her lawyer, the lawyer in her. That's what this reminded me of. But also, Mary wasn't coming at her like guns a-blazing. I felt like Mary was coming at her with concern. Like, she, like, is there something that could be behind this, like pills? And you could tell that Mary seemed a little scared because, I mean, of everything that just happened with her son, if there are any kind of outside influences like drugs or pills, she's gonna be right there. She's gonna be worried about it. She seems scared. And worried. And she seemed concerned for her mental well-being, for Meredith's mental well-being. So yeah, do I think this happened? I think it did. And that, like I said, that TikTok where that woman was describing an ambient coma, that sounds like something that possibly, I mean, you know, Whitney had mentioned before that she was thinking, oh, is it maybe, did she have too much to drink or sleeping pills? So who knows? So yeah, okay. So in the comments, let me know what you thought. Do you think this happened? I honestly, and this is not to say that, who's to say that maybe people were filming and then we're gonna get footage later on down the road, like in a few episodes or at, you know, the finale. Because I saw something where Whitney was talking on a podcast and she was saying this season's finale is like out of the norm. It's like, it's epic and it's not something that you've seen before. So I don't know, we'll see. And listen, when people say that the finales for other shows are really good, it's usually like, meh, meh, but we know for the last 3 seasons, or for the last 2 seasons, the finales have been like not even top tier TV, like into the stratosphere TV. Like, what are you doing? How? So, okay, in the comments, let me know if you watched. And also, listen, if nobody told you yet today you were loved, seen, and heard, please make sure that you put love, kindness, compassion, acceptance, hope, and positivity out there in the world so it comes right back at you. Please take care of one another, and let's treat each other with kindness because it is free, and spread that shit around because it's free. Kindness. Also, be aware of your surroundings, be smart and safe. Let's hydrate with some non-alcoholic rosé and water. And if you're in a dangerous situation, please know that Dolly and I are sending our love, thoughts, prayers, and positive energy your way so you make it through. I love you guys. And I probably will not see you tomorrow, but I will see you on Saturday because I am making a casserole for Cozy Casseroles. And I promise this time I will film it. Okay, I'll see you guys on Saturday. Bye, guys. Bye.